Your net worth is negative $23,000. You know the exact number because you checked it this morning. You check it most mornings. Not to feel better, because the number feels like something you owe the world an explanation for. The student loan sits at $19,400. The credit card at $3,600. You have $180 in a checking account that pays no interest. You are 24 years old, and the math does not work in your direction yet. You take the bus because the car insurance would cost $214 a month. You eat the same 4 meals on rotation because variety is expensive and routine is free. You track every dollar, not because you are disciplined, but because you cannot afford not to. Missing $40 means something real. Missing $40 means a bill does not clear. This is not a character flaw. This is arithmetic. The gap between what you make and what survival costs is too thin to hold anything. Every dollar arrives and leaves before you finish deciding where it goes. The first rule: net worth is not what you earn. It is what you keep after everything that claims a piece of you has been paid. Right now, nothing is left. That is the starting condition. It is not the permanent condition. You open a high-yield savings account on a Tuesday. You transfer $50. The balance reads $50. You check it twice to make sure it did not disappear overnight. It does not disappear. 6 months later, it reads $600. You have hit no emergencies. The emergencies are coming. They always come. But for 6 months, the number has moved only in one direction, and something in you has shifted because of it. You are no longer someone who has nothing to lose. You now have something small to protect. Net worth, negative $19,000. Still red, still wrong. But the direction is starting to matter more than the number. Net worth, 0. You crossed it on a Wednesday. You did not celebrate. You sat at your kitchen table and looked at the number for a long moment. 0. Not negative, not borrowed. 0. It took 3 years. You paid off the credit card first because the interest rate was 24%. Then the smaller loan. Then you started accelerating the student loan while building the emergency fund at the same time. The math said, pay the debt first. Your nervous system said, save something first. You split the difference. Both moved slower. Both moved. The emergency fund sits at $4,200. 3 months of expenses. You have not touched it. You have had reasons to touch it. A car repair, a medical bill you did not expect. Both times you found another way. The fund exists now not just as money, but as evidence. Evidence that you can make a decision and hold it. The second rule: 0 is not a destination. 0 is where the math stops working against you and starts working for you. Every dollar above 0 is your first dollar of real net worth. It compounds forward now instead of backward. Net worth, $18,000. You can feel the difference between this and 0. Not in the way you spend the same, but in the way you move through decisions. Last month, your company announced layoffs. You watched your colleagues panic. You felt something different. Not calm exactly, but not terror either. You had 8 months of expenses and savings. 8 months is not forever. 8 months is enough to think clearly. You did not get laid off, but you were ready if you had been. The brokerage account opened 6 months ago. You invest $300 a month into a total market index fund. You do not check it every day. You check it on the first of the month. The balance is $1,900. At a 7% average annual return, that $300 a month becomes $360,000 in 30 years. You have not told anyone this. It feels too early to say out loud. Net worth, $47,000. You are 29. The number surprises you when you look at it. Not because it is large, because you remember when negative $23,000 felt permanent. The student loan is gone, paid off last March. The day the final payment cleared, you went for a walk. Nothing dramatic, just a walk around the block. You needed somewhere to put the feeling. The index fund now holds $11,000. You increased the contribution to $500 a month after the loan disappeared. The extra money had to go somewhere. You chose the asset that does not need your attention to grow. Your coworker just bought a new car. Leased. $580 a month. He earns $4,000 more than you annually. His net worth is probably negative. He does not track it. Most people do not track it. Tracking it is uncomfortable when it is red. You track it every month. Net worth $100,000. You did not throw a party. You made dinner at home and looked at the number on your laptop and then closed the laptop and watched something forgettable on television. $100,000. All of it invested. None of it in the account you use for groceries. The portfolio returned $6,200 last year. You worked 0 additional hours for that $6,200. It arrived because capital compounds, and you left it alone long enough to see the compounding begin. The third rule. The first $100,000 is the hardest. Not because the math is harder, because the behavior is harder. Every dollar saved in the early stages feels like a sacrifice that is too large for the reward. The reward is invisible at first. Then it becomes visible all at once. After $100,000, the same behavior produces results you can feel. Net worth, $250,000. You are 34. You negotiated your salary 3 months ago. You knew your number. You knew the market rate. You knew what you would do if they said no. They came in $11,000 below your number. You thanked them. You shook hands. You walked out. They called back in 4 days. The portfolio now generates approximately $15,000 a year in passive returns at a 6% rate. That is $1,250 a month arriving without your body producing it. Not enough to live on, enough to matter. Enough to see the shape of where this is going. You have started thinking in time differently. Not years, decades. You are optimizing for who you are at 50 and 60, not for what you can afford this weekend. Most people around you are not doing this. Most people around you are negotiating with next month. You are negotiating with the next 20 years. Net worth, $500,000. $500,000. You are 38. The number has a different weight than the earlier ones, not because it is more impressive, because it represents something structural. At a 4% withdrawal rate, this portfolio could produce $20,000 a year indefinitely. Not enough to retire, enough to understand that the game has changed. Capital is no longer a scoreboard. Capital is infrastructure. You started a business 2 years ago, not because you needed the income, because the financial cushion made the risk calculable. Without the cushion, starting a business is a gamble. With the cushion, starting a business is a decision with a defined downside. The business earned $67,000 in its second year. You reinvested $30,000 of it. The rest went into the portfolio. 2 engines now, both running. The arithmetic is no longer theoretical. Net worth, $1 million. You are 41 years old. The million came quietly, not on a day you expected. You checked the portfolio on a Sunday morning, and the number had crossed. You made coffee. You read for an hour. You told your partner that evening. The fourth rule. The million does not feel the way you thought it would feel when the number was negative $23,000. At negative $23,000, a million was abstract, an idea, a destination so far away it functioned more as mythology than plan. At 41, with the number in your account, It feels like a tool, a large, functional, serious tool, not a finish line. The portfolio generates $50,000 to $60,000 a year at a conservative withdrawal rate. Your business generates $140,000. You live on $85,000. Everything else compounds forward. People have started asking for your opinion on money. You notice this. You've not changed what you say. Something in how you carry yourself has changed. The unhurried quality of someone who is not being chased. Net worth, $3 million. You are 47. The machine runs without your urgency. That sentence took 15 years to become real. You work because you choose to. The distinction between that and working because you must is the largest distinction in an adult financial life. Most people never feel it. The ones who do rarely forget it. The portfolio at 5% generates $150,000 a year. The business generates $280,000. You spend $110,000. Everything else compounds. You are no longer racing toward a number. You are managing a system. You gave $120,000 to a scholarship fund last year, not announced. The check cleared and you moved on. That was enough. The ability to do that without it changing your life is its own kind of freedom. A quiet one. The kind that does not photograph well. Net worth, $10 million. 49 years old. The number reads 10 million, and it is accurate, and you have long since stopped checking it to feel something. You check it to manage it. The fifth rule. At this level, the highest returning asset you own is not in the market. It is in your judgment. Your ability to read a situation, identify an opportunity, deploy capital with conviction, and absorb a loss without panic. That judgment is worth more than any index fund position. You have spent 25 years building it. It does not appear on the balance sheet. It is the reason the balance sheet looks the way it does. You sit on a company board. You advise two founders. You write checks into early-stage companies. One of those checks, $250,000 for a 3% stake, is now worth $1.4 million. You did not get lucky. You knew the founder. You understood the market. You made a judgment call with real capital. That is not luck. That is the compounding of something other than money. Net worth, $30 million. 53. You have been in the same house for 11 years. Your car is 4 years old. You own it outright. Nobody who sees you on an ordinary Tuesday would guess the number. That is deliberate. The money is no longer the point. The money is the result of 28 years of decisions made in the direction of patience, discipline, and long time horizons. The decisions were the point. The money is just what happens when you make enough of them correctly over enough time. You've started thinking about what you are building toward that is not financial. The question is harder than any compound interest calculation you have ever run. You do not have a clean answer yet. Net worth, $100 million. $100 million. You are 58 years old. The number is real and precise and completely disconnected from how you spend any given Tuesday. You brief 3 institutional investors quarterly. You advise on capital allocation for a university endowment. You do not lobby, you inform. The distinction is technical. The influence is real. 3 people at the level of policy know your name, not because you sought access, because capital at a certain scale produces proximity to the systems that govern it. You are inside the architecture now. You can see how it actually works. You cannot unknow that. The 6th rule. $100 million does not solve the problems that money cannot solve. It removes every problem that money can solve so completely and so permanently that the problems money cannot solve become the only problems left. That is a different life, not a better one, different. Loneliness does not care about your net worth. Regret does not care. The relationships you did not protect while building. The years you traded for the number. That accounting does not appear on any balance sheet. It runs parallel to the financial one the entire time. Somewhere right now, a 24-year-old is checking a bank account that reads negative $23,000. They think the problem is the income. If the number were just a little higher, the structure would hold. They do not know yet that the structure is the problem, not the number. The structure is built one decision at a time, one deferred purchase, one automatic transfer, 1 month of not touching the emergency fund, 1 year of leaving the index fund alone when the market drops and every instinct says sell. The million comes from the decisions, not the income, not the inheritance. The decisions made consistently in the right direction over more time than feels reasonable. They will find out. They will transfer $50. They will check the balance 3 times. They will resist the car lease. They will let the portfolio sit. They will get laid off and discover they had more runway than they thought. They will negotiate from strength for the first time and feel the difference in their own body. And somewhere on the other side of all of it, the number will be real. And they will make coffee and read for an hour and tell someone they love that evening. And that will be enough.